blackouts, and I've had my stomach pumped twice.
Wow.
And yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I was 16, 17, I was at a works do and I had anxiety, so I was drinking and I collapsed in the toilet. No, I was at a wedding do actually, and I collapsed in the toilet and the fireman had to take the door off and take me to hospital and I had my stomach pumped. Yeah, a lot has happened.
Hi, my name's Emma and this is Empowered Podcast, a safe space to share the journey of overcoming life's various hurdles to living your most empowered life. I'm beginning this podcast series by speaking about sobriety and the alcohol-free lifestyle. I get so many messages of kind comments and questions from people who are curious about going sober. After 16 months of sobriety myself, I was starting to feel a bit stuck, a lack of purpose, and that's what inspired me to create this podcast, so that myself and others could share all in one place about our journeys. My hope is that this podcast supports and inspires others to make a change to benefit their lives if any of these stories resonate. Hello! I'm so excited that you're back!
Hello, Emma.
We've had a good warm up, haven't we?
Yeah.
So you're here, finally, 5 years. You've been
Yeah.
in China now.
Yeah.
I was so excited actually when you said that you were coming home, so we've rushed to make this episode happen because I had to have you. And is it nearly 2 years sober for you now?
Yes.
So I know you told me that that's a conscious choice that you've made. Can you
Yes.
tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I think my sober journey started a long time before I actually quit.
Yeah.
Like anything in life, it's like an iceberg, isn't it? So for years, I would question my drinking and I would see the people around me drinking, and sometimes people are celebrating and enjoying and sometimes not so good, and I've seen violence and different things, and I used to think, why do we drink? What is it giving us? What is it giving us? And I'd sit and I'd think, and every time I'd get hungover, I'd have lollies, bad decisions that I'd made and blackouts, and I've had my stomach pumped twice.
Wow.
And yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I was 16, 17, I was at a works do and I had anxiety, so I was drinking and I collapsed in the toilet. No, I was at a wedding do actually, and I collapsed in the toilet and the fireman had to take the door off and take me to hospital and I had my stomach pumped. Yeah, a lot has happened.
Wow.
But it was a norm. Like, you know, it sounds awful, but I feel like in our culture and our society, it was normal. Everyone just gets drunk and, you know, you don't worry, just pour it in, go for it, shots. Everyone has to have shots.
Yeah.
And I questioned it a lot, and my dream was to travel the world and help people live the best life, and I thought, I'm not living
You're
my
not
life.
doing that yourself, no.
So I tried and I sort of kept questioning it, stopped for a little bit, drank, but I noticed once I had one, I could not stop.
Yeah.
So I was a binge drinker, completely down and out, like complete binge drinker. I didn't know when to go home because I had I had spaces of loneliness which I didn't know were there. Because of course what I've learned is like we all go through pain, right? And what a human does, like, because I've learned loads about the brain, just and the addictive brain and things. Like we go through so much pain, and as a human we need to avoid it. You know, it could be drinking, it could be drugs, it could be love. People have love addictions of anything, and I really think as well, I definitely have an addiction. I don't think my alcohol is the worst because I chose to get off, and I managed to get off it myself. But so I thought it was, when was it? It was August 27th. It was. I went out. And to be honest, I didn't want to go out. My friend was going out, wanted to go out, and she was like, oh, let's go out. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I went, and I didn't want to go, and I wasn't empowered, actually.
Yeah.
And I couldn't speak my truth and say, actually, like, I love you, you're my friend, but I don't want to go.
Yeah.
So I went, and what did I do? To avoid the pain of not being myself and not being able to be in my power, cocktail after cocktail after cocktail. And then, the morning later, I had a banging head.
This is so, like, the exact same as me.
You can resonate. Everyone can resonate with this somewhere, can't they? And it's okay if people still want to drink. I'm okay if people drink. I'm not on this like everyone should be sober. But I woke up that day, and you know when something just clicks, and I was like, never again.
I think there's a lot more people than we realise though. Like you said, you thought about it for a long time before you did it. I think there's a lot of people in that phase at the moment.
Absolutely, because there's shame.
Yeah.
The thing is, we have so much shame attached to everything, and there doesn't need to be any shame for anything. And I think people are scared to speak up. And this is, for me as well, like, I've lost friends to suicide a lot, and I've had a lot of, what you might call them alcoholics. I don't really like the term, but it's true. You know, there is alcoholics out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like, people just use it, and I'm so proud of people to a degree that sometimes they might need that to survive, and that's okay. Like, I want to be so open-hearted to people to be like, if that's what you need, that's okay. But there's more for you to, you know, there's more support on that, because even the stats, like, because I'm so like a bit of a nerd with this, like, back, what was it, a couple of years ago, I think it was before COVID, if you ask somebody, do you think you've got someone to call in the dead of night, people would say like, oh yeah, maybe 1 to 3 people. Now if you ask people, a lot of people say 0, and especially men, because obviously, because I'm like, suicide rates are a lot, aren't they, and a lot, and there's not only tends to be a lot of drink and things and different things, and it's really close to my heart. And I think it's so sad that people turn to drink, because drinking is a suppressant. It does a lot to our brains, doesn't it? And it's sort of like, I just think it does more damage than it does celebratory for me. And I'm like, I can be high on life.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say.
So I can go to the club still because I like dancing, you know, and I'm personally not triggered by the alcohol around me. No. This is where I don't think I'm completely dependent, where it's like, oh my God, what did I have a drink?
Yeah, and then you can't be around it.
But what's interesting is I walked in, obviously I've just come back from a few years away, and I walked in and I saw a bottle of Baileys on the side, and my brother does charity events, and my mum went, oh, they're for all charity bottles, but Baileys was my thing. And when I worked on the cruise ships and I came home, I had Baileys coffee at 9 a.m. every day.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, Mum, do you remember I had Baileys coffee? She was like, yeah, I just thought, oh, you're on your holidays. And I'm thinking, ooh.
What's that?
You know, and I'm thinking, to me, now looking back, I'm like, maybe I was going down the path of like a lot, you know.
Yeah. But for you, like you've just said there, you can still go out to the clubs and have a dance. A lot of people, that would be daunting for them, because
very much so.
They rely on alcohol for confidence.
Yes.
I'm not like that. You're not like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting to hear that side of things, because I thought I was the only one that did need it for confidence.
Yeah.
But you described it so perfectly, and it's to cover up pain.
Absolutely. We've got shame, we've got pain, we've got things that hurt, you know, and everybody's got it, right?
Because I've never drank to have a good time. I never drank to have confidence and have a laugh. I drank on purpose to punish myself or to be an arsehole. I thought, I'm going to be an absolute arsehole tonight.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do to myself.
Yeah.
And it's not a nice, positive place to be. And people think, oh, you know, so-and-so's got married, so-and-so's had a baby, let's have a drink.
Yeah.
Why? You can celebrate that without needing to have a drink.
Because the problem is with humans, what I'm learning is we can't be present. But we need to be present. It's so important, and I love being present. Like right now, I'm present.
Yeah.
What another thing is, we weren't taught as kids, and anywhere, you know, we need to be taught more, is emotional regulation, and that's why we've got so much mental health problems at the minute.
Yeah.
Because like obviously we might be a bit nervous now, even a nervous system might go up, but like how do we think? Oh, a few deep breaths, come back. It's all natural. It's all simple as well, but it's not easy. But then something happens, or somebody. You know, when we're a kid, sometimes it's when you're a child, you don't even remember when you're a baby. Those first 5 or 6 years are so formative. It's like, what happened? Like, did they not get held when they should have done when they were crying? You know, maybe because that's the way it was and that, but like, that will give someone an abandonment wound. Do you know Gabor Mate?
No.
I'm obsessed with him. If anyone's listening, you need to look into it. He's a trauma therapist, like that, and he's world renowned, so you have to look into him. But he has an addiction to buying CDs. It's so funny, right?
Wow.
And he's old now. He's in his 70s, I think. And he was in the Holocaust, so his mum had to give him up. So he survived while all that was going on, you know. And like, you know, and he's got a wife, and she's an artist, and he's like a psychiatrist. And he said, I'm a doctor, but I have to help people because I can't deal with my own pain. Yeah. And I love him because he's so real, and he's all about compassionate inquiry. And that's something we work taught, is compassion. How can I love myself so I can love you? So like, and I always question my mum, my dad, my nana, the one that's still here. That I feel for them because I have lots of questions. I'm always curious.
I've done that as well.
I was questioning like, why do you drink? And I'm like, well, I'm happy, and that. And I'm like, and I got to remember that I've got my story, they've got theirs, and we've all got our story. And it can be an and life, not a bad or a good or this, but it's got to be all of it. We've got to look at it from a holistic point of view.
I think asking the questions as well doesn't always mean that you think someone's done something wrong to you. Like, I remember, I think it might have been last year, sometime in the last couple of years anyway, I did this like money manifesting workshop, and it was going back through what you were taught as a child. And I was like, and this is where I don't fit into normal coaching, because I don't have anything from my childhood that was bad.
Which is amazing.
But they try and say, don't they, is it the father wound, the mother wound? And I'm like, I don't have one of those.
But it could
be
I
said to my mum, what did you teach me about money? Why do I think I can't get as much money as I want? Was it something you told me? But it's not. And it isn't always to do with, sometimes it is to do with your upbringing. But mine definitely wasn't. Mine's a choice as an adult.
But as well, Emma, I believe, because my whole, obviously it's opened me up spiritually as well, which I was always quite spiritual, it doesn't have to be this life. This is the 3D. What about your past life? What about your karma? What about your mum's mum? And our grandparents, let's be honest, we're in a war. They lived in poverty. So there will be some part to restrictive things, and it's it's not put upon us on purpose. It's just we carry things in our DNA. In our epigenetics, but we can change it all now. And they all say, oh, this is hereditary, that's hereditary. It is to a degree, but all things that what are teaching us now that we have the DNA can change, and we can this is why we've got law of attraction and all that, which I'm big into. I even did this why I wanted you on. But even do you know what's even interesting? That law of attraction workshop I did 3 years ago, I would do it differently now again, because we've got to remember everything's constant. We're all a vibration. This isn't real, we're all just vibrating, and every action has a reaction. So what we do right now here on Earth, some in the planet, in the space is doing, and this and that, and everything happens for a reaction. You can't have one thing without the other. It's polarity, but it's not right and wrong or good and bad. So if you drink, it's not good or bad, it's just what is. But it's everyone has their story, and it's so important that we honour that, and I don't think we do. But I've always used to say, why is there so much war in the world? And I think because we're warring on the inside, we put on this brave face, stiff upper lip, that's how it was, whatever.
Get on with it.
But I personally now think we've got to look at, everything, physical health, emotional health. And a lot of the doctors in the world now are saying mental health and physical, it's all linked. But if you think about it, of course it's linked, right? How can it not be? But we didn't know that, and that's okay. But it's how do we go on with that now? And I personally want to live. One thing that my sobriety has given me is time. Because I'm present, I can be present. It's not easy, it hurts. I go back into old wounding and forward and that, but I'm just in awe of the world, the stars and everything. I can really be here, and I'm so proud of myself to get myself there.
You should be, definitely. I think something that I found the first 12 months going alcohol free was amazing. I loved it. Like you said, you appreciate your first holiday, your first, I did a festival, all these little things, my first wedding that I went to. And then I got to that 12-month mark, and then it was now what? And you start to notice, through Marie, one of my amazing sober friends, always says to me, you're looking through a sober lens now. So you notice things about people and places that you wouldn't have seen before, and that's when I then started to struggle. And it wasn't that I wanted a drink, it was just oh God, there's a bit of shit in the world actually. I've looked at all the amazing things, and now I'm noticing the bad things as well, which is what in turn did inspire me to create this podcast, because it's giving me a focus. It's potentially helping other people that have maybe been on a journey like you and I, or whatever alcohol means to them. So that's now what's inspired me to do this. So what do you think going sober has inspired you to do going forward?
I love this as well, because I feel like we have an opposite angle. So you were like, wow, everything was great, and now I'm like, ooh. I felt like on the inside for me, I had so much I always looked on the dark side, even though on the outside I was dead positive and that. There was a lot of trauma on the inside for me, and a lot of like stress and a lot of shame. Shame is the one thing, right? And the opposite of shame is like the compassion and that. And I think what's really important for me with my sobriety is what you're saying as well about offering out is service. In this world, in the man-made structure, let's say, you could say the patriarchy, but I'm not all about that. I don't want a patriarch, I don't want a matriarch, but it structures it as like, look after you and do as you're told from like a societal standpoint, but it's like, where do we serve? Like in anything, where do we serve? But you doing this will touch somebody. It will touch somebody, and someone might resonate with your story more, and someone might resonate with my story more. You could have 50 people standing in front of you telling them the same story, but you might feel it off that one, but I might feel it off this one. And this is the thing, and it's like, I think we've got to remember that this too belongs, whatever your story is. And I think, I don't know if you feel the same, when we were growing up and younger, like it was like this or that. This or that, whatever it was, anything, you had to be slim or nothing, or, whatever it could be, and whatever, and we all have complexes about different things, or, you should eat healthy or you're not healthy, and it's not true. It's about balance and holistic and fulfillment from the inside out. And I think it was always very 3D, like I like to say the 3D is like this, and we've got the 5D and beyond that, and we all come from a different dimension in my beliefs and that. And it's like, and I think for me, I my first year sober was like, and it was like, what I did find hard, it was like, when are you going to drink? So when are you going to, when's this phase over? And I was like, you don't drink, why? And that really bugs me, because it's like someone saying, oh, you don't have a house yet, why?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have a kid yet.
I know.
Who wants, doesn't mean everybody wants a child,
all the time, you know. Ask someone why.
Yes, it's like, oh, wow, and get curious. And I think, again, because there's a right and wrong mentality in the world, but it's not black and white. There's a grey area for everything, and that's okay. And so for me, like the first were fine. Like at Christmas Day on my first year, we went to like quite a posh hotel in China, and it was like an all you can eat, all you can drink, right? And it was really lovely. But I was like, I want the glass, so I got the glass, and I got the grape juice, and I got Sprite, and I was like, okay, cheers. I was happy then. So it's interesting how the muscle memory is like, oh. But I obviously believe that and it was fine, and I didn't want to drink and that, and I was out till 3 a.m. So obviously, as the day went on, my friends, I'd getting drunker, which was fine. I don't mind being around drunk people.
I don't.
And some people get triggered as well, and that's okay. But I was okay. We had a good night, and we went to the club, and I was on the stage dancing, and wow, So that was that. But I was in therapy. I was in therapy when I started becoming sober, and it was nothing to do with therapy, and actually my therapist ended up becoming sober.
Wow.
She is incredible. And I was telling her about this book by Ruby Warrington, which I'd heard on Saturn Return podcast, and I was like, sober curious, I'm sober curious, because I don't want to say I'm sober, because now I don't care as much, but I was like, I'm sober curious, I want to be mindful about my drinking. And this woman is incredible, Masuma, and she's taught me about self-compassion, and she loved Thich Nhat Hanh, I think I've said his name right, and she was into all that, and she loves Tara Brach and all these spiritual teachers.
You have to give me a list of all these names.
You put it in the show notes.
As
I say, but and like I do moon meditations with her under the fire and all this and that, and we have a really good, powerful community over there and stuff. But like it was so interesting because she was like questioning it as well, and I didn't know, and then she was like, I think we should do something. And she's into events, and I was like, well, what are we doing?
Let's do it.
So we ended up doing a Sober Curious event, and it was like, because I learned about the brain and things and our habits, and it takes 21 days, not for everyone, but on average 28 days to form a new habit, and then obviously 60 and 90 to make it more ingrained, because if you learn about our brains, the neuroplasticity, we can change our brain. But if something's deep entrenched, which is the addictive brain, like a smoker or a drug addict or sugar or whatever it is, it takes a long time to get another trench, if you will, and start anew. You've got to get, like stop the trigger, because it's a cycle. So it's like, how do you break the cycle? So it's like, like let's say you smoked and you had your smokes in the side of the car, put mints in there instead, so the muscle memory would go, but you're still putting something in your mouth. And that's how we can sometimes get out of bad habits. But of course, an addiction is a little bit beyond that. That's more, it needs more support, which is okay as well. But we can all get better, I believe. I don't think it's even getting better. I don't know what the word is, but we can all improve.
Life for yourself, isn't it?
So that's where Sober Curious was born. So we'd have like prompts. So we started we have like WeChat over there. That's like our social media. So, people would come and we'd talk about it, and we'd have questions like sober sex, right? what was it like your first time having sober sex? And if you thought about it, have you done it? Are you always drunk when you have sex? Or it might be, sober dating, how do you feel? Because most people get nervous, so they drink on a date, and they're not present and that. And it was like different questions. So it was more about mindfulness.
Yeah.
You could drink or not drink on that as well. It was just getting mindful. And then I went on to do my own on Instagram and Facebook with people here, actually, because a lot of my audience is here as well. And then beyond that, she went and did more research, and there's an app called the Alcohol Experiment, if anybody wants to know that as well. And you can sign up for a free 30-day alcohol free, and it's incredible. So what's she called? Annie Gray. She's got a book, and she's amazing, and she's sober, and she did a challenge, and she drank, and she's videos it all. You can see her every day. She got drunk. She wanted to see what it was like, and it was very fascinating. Wow. And there's another guy that does it with her, a coach, and they talk about the brain, and then they have guests on. So that helps you 30 days sober, and there's a community. I mean, we did our own community. We'd have a Zoom call at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, how you felt. Some people did it, some people didn't. Some people continued, some people might have continued to go and end up at AA because they felt they needed more. Some people ended up drinking again and they were happy, but they learned things. But once you've learned something, you can't unlearn it, which I love. And that's what I do. So in a way like you, I could be sober, but I don't understand why I wouldn't serve if I can. And you don't have to join me on sobriety. I don't mind, but I think it's really important to share our story. Yeah, because definitely. I think there's many more people than what we realise that want to be.
Are curious, like you said,
so curious. Yes.
So do you think starting that little community that you did helped you to stay on your path as well?
It helped me not feel as lonely, which was one of my things, because I was like, wow, I'm doing it. It's a purpose, because purpose is important in life. It's your dharma, so it's like everybody needs a purpose and to feel fulfilled. And I'm big on astrology and human design, and one of my cities, it might be a bit early to what I'm saying now, but it's universal love. So I'm big on love, and I've got to love something or I can't do it. Like, I'm always late for work if I'm not into it anymore. And the way my energy works, because I'm like a manifesting generator, I can go and go and go, but if I don't love it, then I can't. And I'm like, well, I love this.
I think we've talked about that as well.
Yeah,
I was a projector and I was really pissed off. Do you remember me telling you? I was like, I want to be a manifesting generator. I don't know why.
But projectors,
but I am a projector. Now I've read it. I know that.
And you see things, your energy type, you can see beyond, and it's amazing. And if I don't love it, I ain't doing it. But if I love it, I can go and go and go. And we all need, all of us, like anyone with everything. And I'm really passionate about like finding your true self. And for me, empowerment and empowered means your truth.
Yeah.
But we don't, in our society, I believe, and culture, and a lot of cultures around the world, there's no truth. Like there is, but it's buried. And the only truth there is universal truth, like the law of attraction, the law of inspired action, the law of like divine masculine, divine feminine, but that's within us and we need to get our own balance. But everybody can do that in their way. Yeah. And I really am not about like someone saying, 6 steps, do it this way, do it that way. It doesn't work. No. Because that's their way and I'm so happy that it worked for them. But for me, I want freedom because that's empowerment for me. It's one of my big values. So I'm free to be sober, my space. Because a lot of people drink because they don't feel safe in themselves. So it's like, wow, if I can embody that and show that, then they might think, oh, maybe I can do that too. So it's about inspiration.
So who's been that for you then? Or what's been that for you? What's been the things that have helped you on this sober journey so far?
Okay. I think I wanted to live and I wasn't living, you know. I think my mum, my dad, and I know like their dads, if you will, their dads were, I didn't know like them, but like they were big into drink and like, they were a lot. And then my mum, she has like 6 months where she doesn't drink and then she'll binge and that, and I'm like, wow. And I've seen her drunk and hungover and that, and I've seen sometimes she'll be in spaces where she's like, oh, I should do that, and that's okay. But I was like, wow, she can go 6 months without, and my mum is amazing. Like, she's like the life and soul
best woman in the world.
She's so I was like, well, I love her, and I'm like that. And then my dad's had other issues, and he doesn't drink now, but there was some violence in his past and stuff and different things, and I'm like, and then watching, I used to work in the night when I lived here, and working and seeing like fights and all this. I thought, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm losing life and I want to live. So I think it was something inside of me, if I'm honest. I want to live my potential. So like everybody has a why in their life. I want to live my potential and I want to give back. But if I'm drinking now and then, not a problem if that's what you want to do. But for me, I was like, it keeps taking away something from me. it's taken away my health. And then I learned about the brains, how it shrinks our brain and that, and I was like, why would I do that to myself? I basically started going on a self-love journey. And I thought, I can't put stuff in my body that's not loving me back. I still do it, you know. Even my skincare, like, to be fair, I have my tropics today, and in China we can't get that, but I have like natural things, and I still eat not the most healthy food. But again, the system wants us to have excess sugar and this and that, and that's my biggest issue at the minute, which I'm open to admit as well, because it's the truth, you know. And I think, like, there's so many things that we can do to get better. But I think we've got to love ourselves through it. And it's, I guess mine comes from a place of self-love and loving my family enough to be like, I want to be the change, you know, because I can see at times it's brought damage, you know, it's brought damage.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, and I want to live, I want to be here right now with you. You know, I want to be in every experience, you know. And like, I love, like, I think one thing, and I've read a book recently called Awe, and it's about how humans have forgot how to, like, live fully. It's like, how do we have awe more? And I'm like, I love the stars, I love the moon, the sunsets. Like, when you drink, you're on a cycle, aren't you? It's like drink, work to drink. And I don't remember being this free, which is another value of mine, and being so alive. You know?
You just feel like light and lifted, don't you? Like, one experience that I had last year was when I went to Ibiza sober. And I set my alarm, I got up on my own at 5 a.m. and I went for a walk up a cliff and I watched the sunrise. And I just cried. I was just like on my own up this cliff, and I was like, usually I would be coming in at this time, riddled with anxiety, triggered by the birds tweeting. But now I'm watching this amazing sunrise and just, like, so happy with the life that I'm making for myself now. So, and it's never too late to do that, is it?
Never.
You know, some people might be listening thinking, oh well, I've done it, I've drank for this many years now, I'll just carry on. But you can still have such an amazing life from whatever age you are, for however long we've got left.
Absolutely. And it's a practice. People might not want to be sober like we've decided. It's a choice. People might think, oh well, maybe instead of having 2 bottles of wine, I want to start having 1. Whatever, you know, it's okay. But I think it's really important to, like, choose for you. This is another thing as well. We have a lot of outside influence, consumers, parents. Like, for me, I do have a lot of parents and trauma from when I was little, because that's who I am. I've got an open emotional centre in my human design, so I'm somebody who feels, because I'm non-emotional, I take on everything, and they've got trauma, and that's okay, you know. And I love it. I actually love it, because all the pain we can turn into power. But instead of, like, violence and that, instead of reacting, I want to respond. And again, I love everybody in my world, and I wouldn't be who I was right now, even sober. I wouldn't have had the power to become sober without them, you know, and everything. So I think it's really important to honour yourself, and it's about learning how to be at peace. Find that inner peace, whatever that is for you. And as well, I've had, like, a lot more stuff. Like, I have social anxiety now more than ever, actually. Which is interesting, because I didn't have it before, but I'm like, I don't want to go to a big party.
We've been through a lot, Jenna, where you've been living, and what we've been living through. We won't talk about it, but you know, that's understandable.
But I don't feel, because again, I guess in a way, like, a big party for me, I can't connect with people. I want to connect. So one-to-one is great, a small group is great, and I guess that was always my truth. But I have a huge family who I love with all my heart. I love them all so deeply, but I get overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much in the senses now, because I'm not drinking to numb it. I'm like, I want to hold it all, but I'm overwhelmed with the love. Like, I have a problem receiving, and I'm like, wow, everyone loves me, like, really loves me. And it's like, so it's
what
like,
do I do with that?
So how do I, like, let myself receive that, right? Because I'm so loved. But I had a belief that I wasn't loved, because I think with a drink, we can use it to numb all this and not even face it. But I want to face it all. But it is a 1 day at a time process. It's a practice. It's not linear. It's cyclical. We can't just be like, right, I'm not drinking, that's it. I mean, I know I had that thought, but it was all that before it, and all the practice now. It just means so much to me. We all have priorities, and what's your priority the most? And one of mine is I want to live. So that means life is a game of sacrifice. So I think we can have anything in life, but we can't have everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So I'm like, well, I want to live and be here wherever I am and be in the moment. So I have to, like, clean up my side of the street and my trauma and my stuff, and not be reactive and that. But I don't want to self-sabotage with alcohol or whatever it is So it's a practice, and sometimes like I have other vices now, like I said about sugar, and that sugar's a bit of a big one for me at the minute. But it's like I can hold myself in compassion.
I've got addicted to Red Bull, Jenna.
Well, there you go, and that's so bad for your heart.
It's worse,
you know
honestly.
I mean?
So now I'm going to do a podcast about Red Bull.
Well, yeah, you need to. It doesn't fucking give you wings.
It doesn't.
But that's it. And this is the thing. It's like a coping mechanism. But I think it comes from love and compassion. Love yourself through everything, because we all have it. Everybody's got something. And it's about how can I love myself through this? Because if we're horrible to ourselves on the inside, we can't be condemning, we can't do that.
No.
It's got to come from a place of love, and then anything is possible. I believe it. I'm obsessed with love, can you tell?
No, well that's the best thing to talk about as well, because I resonate so much with that, because that's a lot of why I drank. And, you know, because people say to me, oh, you know, we didn't know you had anxiety, like you come across so confident. And I do, and I am confident. Yeah. But, you know, I'm confident to stand and talk or dance or, you know, sing on the karaoke, whatever daft stuff, I'll do that, I don't mind. But it's about having confidence and loving who you are, and I didn't do that. Yeah, so was intimacy a little bit of, you know, like getting the intimacy? I had the problem with intimacy. A lot of, just for me, it was just self-loathing that I'd gone through. Yeah. And that's what made me think I needed to punish myself through drinking. I thought, well, you deserve to be hungover and throwing up. Yeah. From 10 a.m. till 10 p.m, because that's what I did. Yeah. But that voice could have come from somewhere. Now, I'm not saying it's your parents, must be such, could be from an ex, could be from anything. Yeah. Did you get a repetitive like message? Because we have big T trauma, small T trauma, and I've had both in my life for different things. And it's like things can be drip fed and we don't even know. Could be from your boss, an old boss, like making you feel like you're not good enough. But if you're open, wounded, and sensitive, and like you think, God, I can't do anything right, you know, like, could it be society, could it be government, anything? We have to remember we're consuming all the time, but our brain is so smart. Our brain and our ego is there to protect us, which I love, but our soul knows the way. I believe this, and it's about marrying our heart and our mind. So our brain will filter things out. If it's painful, it'll try and like disassociate or like attach. There's different attachment styles. There's so much to learn. If that's your thing, I'm obsessed, as you can tell. You need to give me a list of all Of
course, anything you want, you know, but because I'm curious, and I've always been that curious girl, and that like I believe in magic and that, and I believe in spirit, and I always did. And of course that's a bit odd in this world, but I'm like, but I believe it.
To who? If it's not
where did that come from? So it's an outside source, but like that's another reason why I drunk. I can't be me. I think we all do it because we can't be me, we don't fit in. But again, what's on the inside and what people see, if you said, oh, I really feel like you felt like that about me, they'd be like, I love you, what's wrong? You know, like for me personally. And I'm like, wow, like we've all got our own worldview, and everyone is different because we've all got a different lived experience. Even my brother, I love my brother so much, and we're different. I've said to him recently while I've been back, I'm like, Sean, can I ask you about this? When we were little, and we had the same childhood, but we're different. Like, that's what you can see. All siblings are different, and we hold things differently, and there's no right or wrong. There just is. But I'm so grateful to my family, and I love them because I get to ask those questions, and we all don't react anymore. Back in the day, we would. You know, that's the truth. That's our truth. But I love each of them with all my heart because I feel safe, and I never felt safe in my own body. From my emotional standpoint.
What do your family all think about you being sober? What do they think about that journey that you're going on?
I don't think, no one said anything to me, like as in like they haven't judged me. Right? Friends did a bit, oh, you're not coming out, you're not drinking, and people don't invite me out anymore, which is odd because I'm like, I like to dance.
I'm still the party.
I want to go. In China we have KTV and it's like karaoke rooms. Oh my God, we always go. But one of my friends is sober there, so we go every month. We have a date. But my family so far, I mean, I've not seen everybody yet. Not everybody knows I'm back. Surprise!
I love it.
By the time this goes
won't
out,
post this until you've said everything.
I'm sure everybody knows, but yeah, I think in general, I think my energy speaks first. Like the energy speaks first, and they're like, I think they see that I'm more happy, fulfilled. There's no like chip on my shoulder. There's no sort of like, I think they find me inspiring in some ways, and you probably have to ask them because again, this is my worldview. But I do think I think they're proud of me, which is like, but I can hold that now, and that's what I love. If I wasn't sober, I think they were still proud of me, but I couldn't.
You'd be like,
I couldn't feel it. Yeah. Because I'm like, well, that's not me. And again, I really believe we can't love someone deeper than we love ourselves, if that makes sense. So it's a big thing to do in that, and and I think my mum's been a big influence on me as well, because my mum is Oh, she's amazing, as we know.
And
she...
Salt of the earth, that woman.
Yeah, and she just always says, Jen, I don't care what you do, just be happy, be happy. And I think sometimes I make that such a big deal, but it's simple to be happy for me. It's very simple. It's not the outside world, it's not the material things and that, it's just like connection, you know, and being empowered and speaking my truth and being comfortable in my own skin. That's what's important. And I've got there, you know, and my mum would definitely, she supports me 1000%. I feel she's like my best friend as well as my mum. And it wasn't always like that. And if she was sat here, she'd say, you know, like I moved out when I was 16, we used to butt heads, you know, and I did fight a lot with her in that, but yeah, I think I'm very, very grateful, but I couldn't feel that when I was drinking. I'll be honest, I didn't know how much she was there for me, and I know all life is like that. I mean, I've had teenage years where we don't care as much as that, but yeah, she's amazing. And my nana's passed on, her mum, and my other nana's here as well. Like, they're a big influence in my life. Women are a big influence in my life, and I think maybe on a larger scale, like, we were suppressed in that, weren't we? And like, you know, women should be seen and not heard back in the day, and I'm into all this ancestry stuff, and I'm like, I want to be there and be like, well, I want a voice. I want us all women to have a voice. And for me, it's not about me. It's about the bigger picture and the world that we're creating, because this is a movement and it needs to happen. And I don't mean being sober as a movement. I mean the freedom of choice to choose. You don't have to, you're still accepted and loved if you're sober, if you're not, if you know, don't want to do a 9-to-5 job, whatever it is. I feel like there's a lot breaking down in our system, which I love. And I'm really passionate about it, as you can tell.
I love that.
So yeah, it's important to me, you know, and I think drinking just gets in the way of that for me now. I've got too much to live for, which is really a beautiful thing that I get to say, you know, and I'm living it. And I know for some people, if they're listening, they might think, oh, but I can't do that. But if I could give them anything, I'd be like, you can. One step at a time.
That's what I did.
Thing.
Just take each day, each event. At a time. You don't need to say I'm never drinking again. You can just be curious, like you said. But
I don't want to drink right now, kind of thing.
So in your 2 years though, has there been a moment where you've gone,
all the time?
Has there?
Even now, all the time, like that book, the Baileys thing, when I was like, you know, and I'm like, and I'm thinking like London, we have our London trip in November and that, and like, you know, we go on the bus.
Why did that sober last year?
Well done, I'm impressed, you know, I never got there, but like, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, but because part of me wants, I want to be involved. I mean, I can be there, but I'm like, I want something. So I'm thinking, my mum's like, there's no Secco now, and there's a lot more alcohol free in here, because I didn't know, because I've not been here as well. And I'm like, because another thing is interesting, because I suppose when I'm talking about here, my life here and where I come from, I think it's still the same, because I've been away for so long. And even though I've been in China 5 years before that, Cambodia, Thailand, on the cruise ships, it's been a long time, you know. That was my dream. So it's a sacrifice, right? But I think, there's been times where I'm feeling so low and I'm crying in bed, because it happens to us all. We all go through everything. I'm angry, I'm sad, you know, heartbroken, whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, God, it would be just so much easier to down something now, you know, just go out, get leathered, you know, sleep with the wrong person, because I've done that. And I'm not, you know, I've got no shame in saying that, because I've done it. And it's not, I'm proud. It's like our thing, you know, like we can have like that addiction of like a love, like, I want to feel loved, I want to feel that. But what we didn't know, it was inside of ourselves all along. But like this, but I definitely feel, I'd say quite often it's like, but it's in the time, again, it's in the times, not when I thought I would want to drink. So like, so again, because I can see myself more, it's for me, it's connection. But I love being on my own. So there's like a real thing, like I love living on my own, I love my space, but then there's some times where I'm like, and of course it has been big with COVID and everything, hasn't it? But there is times where I'm like, I don't feel like I fit in a crowd. I do have anxiety more than ever in a degree, because like I'm like, I do still sometimes think, am I saying the right thing? And I never had that before, ever. But I didn't know it wasn't like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's interesting how there's different things coming up for me.
So what have you done in those moments then, where you've thought, I could have a drink?
Breath work.
Right.
Breath work, meditation, walk. I walk. China is, Beijing where I live is the same size as Ireland, so imagine how big it is, you know, and where I walk 2 hours from one place to another. I was like, walk 2 hours? This is somewhere, there's it. No, I walk. So I'm very good with like dates and that, but November 16th, 2 years ago, again, it was snowing, proper snowing, and I was like, I'm going to walk home. It took me 2 hours. And then every day I did 10,000 steps. So like I built new habits, I guess, in a way. I got habits, and I got addicted to Coca-Cola. Oh my God. Completely, I couldn't not have it. And then I got off it and I was like, oh my God. I've been on it the past couple of weeks, but I think it was the nerves are coming back. So you can see, I can see the patterns, but again, I love myself through it, and it's okay. You know, like when you said the Red Bull, it's all okay. And it's like, we get to sit with it. Do we want to do this? Is it really that bad? Can we do something else, you know? And so I have other vices, but yeah, like the drinking alcohol, I mean, I haven't got in touch with many friends yet, because I'm like thinking, oh, we're going to go out, and I'm like, we're going to go out, which is great, and I want to go out, but I'm like,
how's that going to be?
And I think the thought of coming to Barrow back home was scarier than actually being here, because everybody's fine, but it's like, all we did was drink.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, so I'm thinking, but I don't want to. But I know in myself now, I am empowered enough to say, no, thank you. And I don't get angry as much now. If somebody's like, oh, but why? When they go on, it's not nice. But I really recognise that sometimes people get very questioning of me. I trigger people. Because maybe deep down they want this, or
I think that
it's true. Like and this is the thing. I get triggered in other things now. We all get triggers. We all have things that we want to do better and be better, and maybe we can't. Maybe it's not our time. Maybe it's too hard. So we all trigger each other. And obviously, sobriety is a big trigger for a lot of people, because you know it's a killer. Alcohol is a killer if you abuse it, but you can't help it, and it's okay. You know what I mean? But but we can trigger a lot of people by being sober. So. I have to sort of, and then I get curious again. I sort of, so why do you drink, or what makes you want to drink? But I don't say it. I come from a softer place.
That's the key.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You've got to
curious and soft and compassion again.
Absolutely.
Back to that. Yeah.
So what going forward for you? Does your journey look like now?
Yeah.
You're gonna carry on this path? Is there some other things in the pipeline that you want to start? Because you're dead into your coaching and your manifesting, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
What's next?
I have visions, and then someone does it, which is great. I had a vision of I would love a wellness festival sober.
Yes.
I would love to create and collaborate with people, so yourself, and everything, and have different stands. And I always see myself like a circus, if that makes sense. I would love to pop up in Germany, then here, come back to me. It's everywhere around the world, because I'm obsessed. Two things I wanted to do. When I was 7, I asked my mum, what am I doing here? What's the point in this life? I was 7.
You were 7?
So I started early on my journey. When I was 9, I told her I wanted to help people live the best life, and I always wanted to travel the world. So I would love to do some kind of wellness and helping people that are under... Because again, there's service element. I'm not driven by money and stuff like that, and I don't think many people are really, when we really get to the nitty-gritty of it. And if you are, that's okay too. It's not a big deal. But I would love to create spaces for people, safe spaces where we can be sober and we can have a festival with live music. Because again, this is another thing I've realised sober. When everyone goes to a festival, they get off the face, drinking, drugs, whatever. But I'm like, them people on that stage have spent hours perfecting their craft. And we just get drunk. And I'm not judging here either, please don't, But I'm like, I want to be there, so it'd be nice to have music and, natural things. And I'm into plant medicine. So I do like cacao ceremonies, and I'd love to do ayahuasca one day, because I'm into healing my trauma. I do have a lot of trauma, and I love it, if I'm honest. I love my shadow, because I think we've all got light and shadow within us, but I like deep dive into my shadow, and I'm big on astrology. So I guess I just want to...
That would be amazing to have all that.
I want to wrap it all up into something magical, but I do see that connection is my big thing as well. So I'd like to collaborate at different times with different people and just see what comes of it,
I think a festival would be so good to have all those things. I did my first sober festival last year. Yeah. And I remember they had the strobe lights on. It was the last act of the night, and I was just looking at these strobe lights wow. Yeah. I'm in the moment. Because usually you'd go to a festival and you wouldn't remember.
Exactly, and they're so amazing.
And I was like, oh. Yeah. So put me down. Put me down.
Was the festival sober or not?
No, just I was.
But do you know that Russell Brand is doing one this year? Because he's obviously sober off and he's doing one in July.
Right.
I'm not. I think I'll be back in China then. But my friend's going, who's also sober. And I was like, wow, I can't wait. I want you to tell me everything, because I'm like, so there is a big thing about it, and this is what I love. I think there's a lot more around sobriety now, and there's a lot more support for us, because it's a lonely journey. Yeah. Because around us
it's not the norm, is
it? No, but it is going to be. I think not that drinking will not be the norm. I think it's going to be everything's okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's really nice that there's spaces to go. And places to go, and the fact that there is other alternatives. If you do still want to drink, you know, you can have alcohol-free drinks, you know.
Yeah.
So I think
which
I
do
really
like
good.
to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's me feeling like I'm in the crack.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Like you said before about the muscle memory.
Yeah, and that
I like
change.
to have a bottle of beer.
Yeah. Well, I never liked beer, but I
never.
Oh well, I'm not into that either. But the sparkling wine, I haven't tried no Secco yet, but I want to try it.
Yeah, it's nice.
So it's like I've still got that pull because I have an addictive personality. That is my brain, and that's okay, right? I do. I also believe I've got some form of, I don't know if it's OCD or ADHD or something. When I was getting therapy, there was a suggestion I might be bipolar, which is like the very big highs and the very lows, like that depression. But I'm like, wow, if I am that, there's a lot of people out there. But there's more for it now. Because again, I think mine a lot comes down to mental health, but like it's okay. Whereas I feel, and maybe this was just in my head, what I'd created, back in the day, which again, I think it's just my own worldview, is like everything had to be like this, not like this. But I think school does that to us. It's an old system. You've got to sit quietly, whatever.
Have you tired certain? How does that affect you?
Exactly. And what the hell are we learning? We need to be learning like money, financial literacy, and real like things like emotional regulation. So I'd love to create. Well, I am in the process of creating some things online because I like doing that.
Exciting.
But because of my energy, I love to like tap into my energy. So I'll probably create. I'm into leverage, because why not? Like creating courses that like are there, you know, and that will be, because I want to have multiple streams of income to live, but I don't want to live the conventional way. I'm a bit of a rebel, but like a rebel in love sort of thing, because I'm not like at the front line, like, you know, but I do think there's always another way, and I think everything is possible, like I say, but there's obviously sacrifices in that, and I think I'd love to just give. I just want to give back, you know, and like Cambodia was my favourite place on like the planet, and Scotland, I love Scotland, but Cambodia, like with those people, like I've got an opportunity where I can give them an opportunity, so I want to go do that more. But I also feel like here there's an opportunity to help people, because there's a lot of addicts and addiction and that, and we've got a lot of like I said about the suicide rates and the mental health. I'm passionate about it because of my own as well, you know.
You can speak from experience.
And we can't see it, you know. And I think, it's just does something to me. I can't help it. I'm following my inner calling as opposed to what I'm supposed to do from whoever these outside voices, but I'm probably making up in my head. But I want to follow my own path and like sort of trailblaze my own way.
Love that.
Yeah, it's important.
So, if anyone listening is how you describe as sober curious, what's like a piece of advice or a tip that you could give these people to get started on a sober curious journey?
I think it's really important to share it with someone. And it could be a stranger, it could be find someone, find your community. It could be reaching out to you or me or anyone, because I feel like anybody who's on the path is open to holding space for somebody on the path, connecting. But like if they're just thinking about it, I think it's starting with like, try like, while you drink, the next time if you drink, why? Like think about in the moment, be present, like, okay, what's it taste like? What's it smell like? What can I see around me? Who's around me? What makes me want this drink? How does my brain feel now? You know, like what I always go sensory, because the way we live as well is that we all live in our head. Well, I say head, our mind isn't localized, is it, in the mind? But like we need to be more embodied. So it's like, what does it do to your body? You know, your nervous system is very important, and we're not a regulated society, well, the world, you know, we need to regulate ourselves, do you know what I mean? So I think it's about getting curious first. What does it do for me? Just question.
I would have never thought.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To do that and be in the moment and think about
back to
your
now,
senses.
Why am I doing that? What am I trying to avoid in this? What is this doing, you know? Is it habit? I don't really know why I'm doing. And it, again as well, no shame. It's okay if you don't know. It doesn't matter. But it's just opening, peeling up, like onion, peel a layer. Okay, and are you happy? If you're happy drinking, keep going if that's your thing. For me, I don't like what it does to my brain. I don't like what it does to my body. I think it's like a toxic chemical, but there's a lot of other toxic chemicals that I'll use, you know. I want to do natural like laundry down the line and that, but I don't yet. So it's like, there's no right or wrong, or there's no perfect way. It's your way. And honour yourself. But if you need support, find it. However it is, it doesn't necessarily mean therapy. It doesn't necessarily mean AA, although that is incredible. I personally haven't been there, but I know people in the program and that, but like find something to help you, you know, but I can't tell that person what it is, because what's right for me, and I don't want to do that because I don't believe that's empowerment. No. Because another thing as well, I think, with people that drink or whatever it is, we all believe we're not good enough, we can't decide, but we need to find that inner authority. I trust you to know what's best for you, whoever you are. Yeah. Even if you're, you know, the biggest alcoholic in the world, if that's a thing, whatever, I still trust that you know best, but it's just you've just got all your mud on you. You've just got all the shit.
And that's why I wanted to do the podcast and have so many different people on, because everybody will, like you said, resonate with somebody different, won't they? Yeah. So I think, like you've said, it's physical and mental improvements that you've found. What would you say is the biggest difference since going alcohol free that you've found, either physically or mentally? What's been?
I think I'm lighter in my energy and everything. Like, I'm just a lighter person. I was always bubbly, like I resonate with you and yourself. I was always bubbly and everybody loved me, but I think the difference is now I love myself too. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am not scared of, I've got fears, but I am not scared to be me anymore, and that's such a liberating feeling. Like, I feel just so free, and that's what I always wanted, you know, to feel free and fulfilled.
I feel the same, and my face is like,
yeah. It's such a freeing thing, and I didn't think that's what freedom was, but it is. It's being free from the stuff in my mind. I still get anxious, I still have negative thoughts, and I really know that now that is just our ego protecting us, because that little part of our brain, deep in there, is still fighting that saber-toothed tiger from the stress back in the day. But we don't have that now, but we still have different stressors. And it's like, I don't want my adrenal glands, the stress hormones, to be pumping, and they are. But I'm starting to regulate, and it's taking time. Yeah. And I think it's going to take years for me to be really fully have inner peace and that.
Yeah, nothing's an overnight fix, is it?
Never.
Which is
it's
important.
A practice.
For everybody that is
It's not
listening.
linear, it's not start and finish, no, it's just a practice.
Yeah.
And it will change and evolve, and that's okay. And to be fair, if I'm honest, Emma, I'm not saying I will never drink again. I don't know. Yeah. Because one thing I did say is like, for me, weddings or funerals, you know when you have a toast, I'm like, but I know that's my culture, but I'm like,
Well, that was a thing for me when it
I've not been to one yet, actually, have I? I've been to a funeral, but I've not been to a wedding yet, so I'm interested to see how I'm going to be. So I've not had that first yet.
Oh well, you'll have to keep us updated.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm so thankful for you coming on and talking to me, being the first one. There's so much more that you know, that we could have sat and chat about. So I would love to get all the different bits of info that you said, and get your channels as well, so that people can follow you and get to know a little bit more about you and your journey as well. But I'm dead grateful for you coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Hope you enjoy your time at home.
Thank you, I'm so honoured, thank you.
If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, a like, follow, comment, share and subscribe would mean the world to me. By getting this podcast out there and starting the conversation of sobriety, if I can help even just one person, I'll be happy. So thank you, and tune in next time for more amazing stories.